Hello my dear students and welcome to Zenith Academy Online. My name is Shagufta Jaipuri and today we are doing a very important topic for ICSE class 10, that is transpiration. And this is the part 1 of the chapter transpiration. For transpiration we will be doing around 2 to 3 videos. In part 1 and 2 we will be explaining you the chapter in detail, and part 3 or part 4 will be the detailed question and answers of the chapter transpiration, wherein we will talk about all the MCQs, fill in the blanks, all the objective type of questions, the diagram related questions and all the important questions for examination point of view. Now let's start with the topic. Now children, what is transpiration? Transpiration is the loss of water. What is transpiration? It is the loss of water, but in which form? In the form of water vapor. From where? From the leaves and the aerial parts of the plant. What is the aerial parts of the plant? The part of the plant which is exposed to the air. Okay, so it includes the stem, the leaves, everything. Okay, so transpiration is loss of water in the form of water vapor from the leaves and the aerial parts of the plant. Now, transpiration is very useful process for plants, and there are two reasons why it is very useful. First, it creates the suction force in the stem. Now, since water is transpirating from the leaves and the aerial parts, it will create a suction force, okay, so that the roots can absorb the water and minerals. The second is for cooling the plant in hot weather. We know that whenever evaporation occurs, okay, evaporation is accompanied by cooling. In the same way, transpiration, the evaporation of water vapor from the leaves and the aerial parts also causes cooling. So, the plant itself gets cooled and around the plant also the weather becomes cool. Before going in detail with the transpiration, first we should know certain points, that all plants continuously absorb water through their roots. This water is conducted upwards through the stem and is distributed to all the aerial parts including the leaves. Now only a small quantity of this water, that is about 2%, is used by the plant in photosynthesis and other activities. We already studied photosynthesis in our previous chapter, that only 2% of the water that is been absorbed is used for photosynthesis. The rest of it is almost lost to the atmosphere as water vapor. So, a large amount of water that was absorbed is lost as water vapor during transpiration. So, let us come to our first experiment of transpiration. Now, this experiment demonstrates the release of water vapor, that is transpiration, from a plant by enclosing the plant in a polythene bag. So, here we have taken a medium size well watered potted plant and we have tied a polythene at the bottom of the stem, okay, very tightly. Now we will leave this arrangement in sunlight for about 2 to 3 hours, okay, and then we will see that there are some water droplets which are there on the surface of the polythene bag. Now what are these water droplets? These were the water vapors that were released during transpiration and got condensed. Now children, you should note that if the atmosphere around the plant is cool, then only these water droplets will condense. We all know what is the necessary requirement for condensation to occur. Okay, the atmosphere outside should be cool. Okay, then these water vapors will condense to form water droplets, and since we are able to see the water droplets, we can conclude that transpiration has happened. This experiment also demonstrates transpiration in plants. Now here you can see arrangement A, B and C. In arrangement A, we have taken a medium sized potted plant, okay, well watered plant, and we have covered it with polythene and tied it so that there is no loss of water from the surface of the soil. Okay, so we have covered the pot very well. Okay, we will choose a plant, such a plant we will choose that it has broad leaves, because broad leaves will ensure that transpiration is maximum, and then we cover it with a bell jar. Okay, in the second one also we do the same type of arrangement, but here we have used a dry cobalt chloride paper. Okay, and we have attached it to certain stem or any stick you can take and attach it there. Don't keep it down because transpiration occurs mostly in the aerial parts. So if you keep the paper down, you will not be able to read the effect. Okay. In the third one, that is control, we have not put any plant in the bell jar, but only the cobalt chloride paper. Now you should know that dry cobalt chloride paper is always blue in color, and when it absorbs moisture it turns pink. So then keep this 3 arrangement in sunlight for around 2 to 4 hours. Now here you can see certain droplets of water on the bell jar. This indicates that transpiration has occurred and the water vapor which was transpirated has condensed here. Okay. The second arrangement also shows some water vapor droplets, and you will also see that dry cobalt chloride paper has turned pink. Okay. This confirms that the droplets are of water. Okay. Now the third one, control. In this, the dry cobalt chloride paper does not turn pink, means there was no moisture. Since there was no plant, no transpiration, so no moisture, that is why it remained blue. So this acts as a control that there was no moisture inside the bell jar. Okay, and here there was moisture inside the bell jar, that is why it converted pink. Here also, seeing the drops here, we can say that transpiration had occurred. Now for the ease of the experiment, you can choose not to have this, but these two are enough. Okay. So what did this experiment showed? This experiment demonstrated that transpiration occurs in plants. Now how do we measure that how much transpiration has occurred? Now there are certain methods. One is the weighing method. In this, you cover the plant or the surface of the plant, the potted plant, and then you weigh the plant, and after some time, after few hours keeping the plant in sunlight, you again weigh it. Okay. Now there will be a difference in weight. Now in that period of time, the transpiration has occurred and the water is lost from the leaves and the aerial surfaces, right? So now the weight will be less after keeping in sunlight for some hour. So you can find the difference between the weight of the plant, initial weight of the plant, and then the final weight of the plant after keeping it in sunlight for some hours and transpiration has occurred. Subtracting these two will give you the amount of water that has been lost. Now a more improvised way to do this is by showing the loss of water by volume and by weight. So here what do? We take a glass bottle with a side tubing and attach a tube in it. We fill it with water. Okay. Here you can put a layer of oil as well so that there is no transpiration from this side. Now you take a twig of the plant. Okay. Cover this with cork so that no water is lost from here, and keep this arrangement in sunlight. Okay. Now what will happen? Transpiration will occur. So some water will be lost from the leaves. Okay. So once water is lost from the leaves, this level will go down. Okay, because there will be a suction force created and this water will go down. You can note down this level. Okay, the initial and the final level. And in volume, you see this is a graduated side tube. So you can read the volume, the loss in water in volume. Also you can convert it in weight in the forms of gram. Just convert cc to grams. Or what else you can do? You can take this arrangement, weigh it initially. After some time you can again weigh it and you can note down the loss in weight. In the exam, if you are asked the experiment to show loss of water by volume, you will draw this one. Okay. So remember, there are roots, a twig with the leaves, there is a cork here and there is a layer of oil. Now another method is the shoot method. The shoot is inserted in water, transpires to show loss in weight. So in this, what you can do, you can either take a measuring cylinder or you can take a beaker and put a graduated test tube inside it. In the test tube, what you will do, you will add water and then add a layer of oil on the surface of the water. Insert a plant shoot, not the roots part, only the shoot part, so that the active absorption through the roots is not there. Okay, and then you weigh it, keep it in sunlight for some time. Okay, then transpiration will occur through leaves. Again weigh it. Okay, now in this the loss in water through transpiration will be lesser than what happened here. Here there were roots. Here there is no root, there is only a plant shoot. Now a very important method here is potometer method for measuring the transpiration, how much transpiration has happened. So potometer method is a very important method. This type of a special potometer is known as a Ganong's potometer. There are different types of potometer. We will discuss this in MCQs or the question answers part. Right now for our portion we have to study Ganong's potometer. Okay, so it is a device that measures the rate of water intake by a plant. Now remember earlier whatever we have done here, this method, this method, this method. In all of these methods we have measured what? We have measured loss of water vapor in the form of transpiration. Here what we will measure? We will measure intake by a plant. How much the plant will intake water. Okay, because poton means drink and meter means measure. So we will measure how much water the plant has drunk. Okay, and this is almost equal to the water loss through transpiration. Now how much water it will take, the same amount it will transpire. Why? Because we have studied that only 2% is used for photosynthesis, remaining all 98% is used for transpiration. So the rate of water intake by a plant is almost equal to the water loss through transpiration. So we can use this method also to find out how much transpiration has occurred. Now in a Ganong's potometer, a twig of any suitable plant like Calais is inserted. Now the twig is cut with a sharp knife. Okay, obliquely it is cut with a sharp knife so that the surface is more and more water can be absorbed. Okay, now this whole apparatus is completely filled with water, so there is no air space. The reservoir is filled with water, this is filled with water, and even the beaker into which it is dipping is filled with water. Now this horizontal tube is calibrated, it is marked, or we can say that it is graduated. It has a graduations from where readings can be taken. Now this air bubble, can you see this air bubble, small air bubble? This air bubble is introduced in this tube. How it is introduced? By just lifting it for some second and then dipping it in water again. So when you lift it, due to suction, air bubble will come in. Now you have to be very careful in introducing the air bubble because we want only one air bubble, not many air bubbles. So just lift it for a fraction of a second and insert it again in water to insert an air bubble here. Now as transpiration occurs, what will happen? Now water will be lost through the surfaces of the leaf. Okay. Now as water is lost, this will absorb water. Okay. So a suction pressure will be created. So the position of the air bubble will shift. Now the air bubble will come towards this side. Now noting down the final and the initial reading of the air bubble, we can know that how much water is lost during transpiration in a particular period of time. Now to take the next reading, what we can do, open the stopcock. Okay. So when you open the stopcock of the reservoir, water will enter. Okay, water will push this air bubble again to its original position. So now the bubble goes back to its original position. We can mark it at 0 or anything. Okay, then again when you close this tap and again keep it for transpiration, again the water will be lost. Okay, and the suction will be created and the bubble position will change. So I hope you now know how we can record the amount of water intake by this twig by simply noting down the position of the air bubble. Now these points are very important to note here for a potometer. Potometers do not measure the water lost during transpiration, but it measures what? It measures the water uptake by the cut shoot. Okay. That is why the name potos, meaning drink, how much water it has uptaken. Some of the water is used by the cells to carry out other processes, for example manufacture of food, photosynthesis, and the potometer should be made completely watertight. Okay, this is another precaution that you should take. Also, the twig should be cut obliquely to allow larger surface for the water intake. I already told you it has to be cut. Suppose this is the twig, so you have to cut it obliquely so that maximum amount of surface is there for water uptake. And it should be underwater to avoid suction of air bubble. So the twig should be inserted properly inside the water to avoid the suction of air bubble into the twig, which will stop the absorption of water into the xylem. So these points are very important to note. But there are certain limitations for the use of potometer. The first is introducing the air bubble is not a very easy task. Okay, so introducing only one air bubble is very difficult at times. So once you uplift that, okay, see here, once you lift it, you have to keep it in fraction of seconds down to get only one air bubble. And in case if you get 2 or 3 air bubbles, again you will have to open the reservoir and let the water flow. Okay, so this way by trial and error you will get an air bubble, which is very difficult at times. Second limitation is the twig may not remain fully alive for a long time. Okay, so you cannot keep on performing this experiment for a longer time because the twig may die. Third, any changes in the outside air temperature affects the position of the air bubbles in the capillary tube. So if there is any temperature change outside, then the position of air bubble will be affected by temperature change and not by transpiration alone. So these are the 3 limitations in the use of potometer. Now we have studied what is transpiration. We did certain experiments to study that transpiration. Now there are 3 different kinds of transpiration. Okay? So transpiration from the aerial parts of the plant occurs from 3 different regions. First is stomatal transpiration, that is transpiration from the leaves through the stomata. We will study this in detail. Second is cuticle transpiration, that is directly from the surface of the leaves and stems. And third is lenticular transpiration. Okay? This happens from the lenticels, which are minute openings on the surface of the old stems. So we will talk about all 3 types of transpiration in detail, but the major part of the transpiration occurs through stomata. Okay, whereas the other 2 types of transpiration contribute very little. So let's talk about all 3 types of transpiration now in detail. So first we'll talk about stomatal transpiration. So now let's see the mechanism of stomatal transpiration. Now we all know that roots absorb water and minerals. So from the root hairs, the water is being absorbed. It travels the plant through the stem and then reaches the leaves tissue through this vein. So these are the tissues of leaf, and it is what the water is reaching through the vein. Now here can you see a stoma through which the water is leaving out. Now what is a stoma? We all know that leaves have stomata. Stomatas is the plural name and the singular name is stoma. So here you can see a open stoma and a closed stoma. There are around 1000 to 10,000 stomas per cubic centimeter. Okay, so in 1 centimeter cube of leaf there are around 1000 to 10,000 stomata. Okay, now these stomata open during the daytime mostly for the intake of CO2 and release of oxygen, and when it is opened the exchange of water also takes place. Now the stoma is made up of 2 guard cells. So here you can see 2 bean shaped cells. These are called guard cells. So here you can see a leaf tissue. This is the epidermis, the upper epidermis and the lower epidermis. Okay, the layers. So this is the lower layer of the leaf. This is the upper layer of the leaf. We know the upper layer is darker and lower layer is a lighter shade of green. So this is the lower epidermis, and here you will see that stoma are present in the lower epidermis. Okay, most of the times the stomata are present in the lower epidermis, or we can say that more number of stoma are present in the lower epidermis than the upper epidermis. The waxy coating is cuticle. So the front thing that we can touch is cuticle, and then there is upper epidermis. Below also there is cuticle and lower epidermis. Okay. Now in the lower epidermis there are stomas. Now these are the mesophyll cells. Here you can see mesophyll cells. Mesophyll cells are of two types. This is palisade mesophyll and these are spongy mesophills. Okay. Now, can you see this circular thing? This is the vein from which water is entering the leaf. I will draw another diagram to show you a vein. Now, suppose this is a leaf and this is the vein of the leaf. So, from here the water is coming. Okay. From here the water is coming inside. So, from here water is coming. So, this is the water droplet that is coming through the vein. This is a vein. Okay. Now, these are spongy mesophills around the vein. Now, these spongy mesophills absorb this water. Okay, this water which is coming from it, this is absorbed by these spongy mesophills and they give out water as in the form of a thin film around it. So, there is a thin film of water that is formed around it and then it diffuses in the air space. Okay. Now, once the air space gets saturated with water vapor, what happens? It goes to the other interconnected air spaces. And then this is a substomatal space. Okay, the space near the stomata is known as substomatal place. Substomatal space. Okay, now through this substomatal space, it goes out. Okay, the stomata is open and the water is pushed out in the form of vapor. Now, all the movement of this water vapor is through the process known as diffusion. So, the water vapor diffuses to the air spaces, then it diffuses to the substomatal space and then leave out from the guard cells. So, now we should know how these guard cells of the stoma work. These cells have certain salts and water inside it. Now, in a case where the water content coming through the veins is less, so if the water content in these tissues is less, at that time the water from the guard cells will come out, okay, and instead of becoming turgid, it becomes loose, okay, and when this becomes loose, it will close, okay. Now, when it is turgid, it is filled with water and salts, it becomes turgid, so it becomes open like this. And now, when it is flaccid or loose, it closes. So, when it closes, there is no transpiration and no loss of water. So, I will repeat this stomatal transpiration once again. Listen to me very carefully. This is a cross section of a leaf tissue. Okay. So, the mesophyll cells are very important here. So, after the cuticle and the epidermis, see cuticle and the lower epidermis, there are certain mesophyll cells. This is palisade mesophyll cells and these are spongy mesophyll cells. Spongy mesophyll cells, okay, what do? They absorb moisture, and these the cell sap of the spongy cells, okay, exerts a turgor pressure, the outside pressure on the walls, and there is a layer of water which is formed on the outside of this spongy mesophyll cells. Now, these thin film of water which is formed on this due to the cell sap exerting turgor pressure and the water coming out, this water, okay, will evaporate. Now, when this water evaporate, it fills the air space, okay. Now, once the air space is saturated with the water vapor that has come out from the spongy mesophills, okay, this diffuses to the other air spaces and ultimately it reaches the substomal spaces. From the substomal places, when the guard cells are open, the water vapor comes out through the guard cells, and when there is enough transpiration happening and the water content is less, the guard cells of the stomata becomes flaccid or loose, we can say, or become non-turgid, and then they close. Okay. Now, once the water is lost, also you should remember, once the water is lost, more water is absorbed from these veins, and hence there is a continuous pressure from this part to the roots to absorb more and more moisture. Okay. So, this process goes on happening. I hope now you have understood stomatal transpiration very, very well. Water is coming from the veins, spongy mesophills are absorbing, the cell sap of the spongy mesophyll is exerting a turgor pressure, that is pressure on the outside wall. So on the outside wall a thin film of water is created. This water evaporates and fills the air space. From there it diffuses to the substomal space, and then through the guard cells it goes out. Okay. Now this is another diagram. Here you can see this vein. Okay, from these veins what is happening? The water is reaching these cells, the air spaces. From there it is again reaching this guard cells. Through the stoma it is coming out. Okay, now let us perform an experiment. This experiment will demonstrate the different magnitudes of transpiration from the two surfaces of a dicot leaf. I told you already there are two surfaces. This is the upper epidermis, upper surface, and this is the lower surface. I already told you lower surface has more number of guard cells. So the transpiration rate will be different from upper surface and lower surface. We all know more transpiration will occur from lower surface. So this experiment will demonstrate the different magnitudes of transpiration from the two surfaces of a dicot leaf. So here I have taken a potted plant. I have not shown the whole diagram. So this is one leaf. The upper part is dark, the lower part is lighter. Okay. Then I have attached a cobalt chloride paper on the upper surface as well as lower surface, and attached a glass slide on both the sides and attached it with clips. Okay. Now you should know what is a cobalt chloride paper. A dry cobalt chloride paper is blue in color, and when it comes in contact with moisture or water, it turns pink. So it is used to detect the presence of moisture or water vapor. Now we keep it in sunlight for some time. You can see this is the upper surface, cobalt chloride paper, and this is the lower surface. After some time you will see that the lower surface paper will turn pink in color, showing that transpiration has occurred from the lower surface. Okay. This will remain blue and it will turn pink very slowly, because there are very few stomata which are there on the upper epidermis. Most stomatas are on the lower epidermis. So this will immediately turn. So this will turn pink very soon. This will not turn pink. So if we take a short span of time, this will only this will turn pink, showing the presence of more number of stomatas on the lower surface. Now let's talk about stomatal regulation of transpiration. How the stomata regulates the transpiration. We know stomatas are pores in the leaf that allow gas exchange, where water vapor leaves the plant and carbon dioxide enters. These are the there are special cells called guard cells which control each pore's openings or closing. When stomata are open, transpiration rates increase. When they are closed, transpiration rates decrease. We all know that. Now leaves of some plants wilt during midday. Okay, they become like this, they become wilt. Okay, during midday and recover. So in the midday they wilt and again recover in the evening. Why? Because in midday, you know, the sunlight is there and transpiration is more. Okay, so to avoid the transpiration they wilt down, the guard cells close, and then they recover in the evening again. Now let's talk about the second type of transpiration, that is cuticular transpiration. Can you see the water droplets coming out of the leaves? Okay, now this is not water vapor, this is water droplets. Okay, so we know that there is a cuticle here. So when the water, these cells, okay, the epidermal cells become saturated with water. So once these cells become saturated with water, it can come out like this, not through the stomata. Through the stomata the vapor will come, okay, but through here the what will come? Water will come. So it occurs through the cuticle or epidermal cells of the leaves and other exposed parts of the plant. And the greater the thickness of the cuticle, the lesser is the evaporation. Can you see this cuticle? This cuticle is thicker. If this cuticle is thick, then the cuticle transpiration will be lesser, obviously, because it has to pass through such a big layer. So greater the thickness of the cuticle, the lesser is the evaporation. So for cuticular transpiration to occur more, the cuticle layer has to be thin. So I again revise what is cuticular transpiration. It is the transpiration which occurs through cuticles or epidermal cells, through these cells or through this cuticle, okay, and other exposed parts of the plant. The thicker the cuticle is, the thicker this cuticle is, lesser will be the evaporation. Now let's talk about lenticular transpiration. Can you see these lenticels? Okay, they are on the stem, mostly on the old stems of the plant. Okay, so see this mesophyll cells and then the epidermis and then the cuticle. So whenever they break because of wear and tear and because of the age of the plant, they wear and these lenticels are exposed. Okay, can you see this? These are the living parenchyma cells. See. So these are the living parenchyma cells and these are the dead cells, the bark of it. So whenever there is an injury or whenever they break, these cells form lenticels. Okay, these type of cells which are exposed that we see, these ones, they are called lenticels. So in this type of transpiration, there is loss of water from plants as vapor through the lenticels. Okay, you remember in cuticular transpiration there was water coming out. Here it is vapor coming out through lenticels. The lenticels are tiny openings that protrude from the barks in woody stems. You saw that this is protruding from the bark in the woody stems and twigs as well as in other plant organs. These allow diffusion of gases for respiration as well as for photosynthesis. Now lenticels never close, they always remain open, okay, all the time, during daytime, during night time. Water from cell surfaces directly facing the lenticels evaporates. So the cell surfaces which are facing the lenticels directly from there, from these structures, the water will evaporate and they contribute to the transpiration. Very important things to note here is stomatal transpiration is controlled by the plants. Okay, plants can control how much transpiration will happen. How? By adjusting the size of the stoma. Whereas this does not happen in the case of cuticular and lenticular transpiration, that is non-controlled. The amount of transpiration from lenticels is certainly more than cuticular transpiration. Okay, so from lenticels more amount of transpiration takes place, but very much less than the stomatal transpiration. So transpiration occurs maximum through stomatal transpiration, then it occurs through lenticels, and then in the number 3rd position is cuticular transpiration. Also you should remember the stomatal transpiration is regulated and the other two are not regulated. So this was all about today's lecture. Please watch our next lecture for factors affecting the transpiration and other things. In the next coming lectures, we will be talking about the detailed question and answers from this topic. So stay tuned and keep the learning on. And if you have not yet subscribed to our channel, do it right away and share our videos with all of your friends. Thank you and have a nice day.